Marchand, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
This is University Unplugged podcast, and this is our first episode. So, can you tell me who you are and what you do here?
Yeah. So you said it. My name is Marie, and I'm a project manager in Success, Equality, Diversity, Inclusion at CY Cergy Paris Université.
So, what does that mean?
It means a lot of things. It means that I try to make sure that we are proposing a welcoming environment to our community of students, but also to our staff. It also means that we try to fight against all kind of discrimination, and to make sure that we propose kind of community to our students.
In general, what is DEI outside of university and inside university?
So DEI stands for Diversity, Equality, Inclusion. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's equity. It depends on the what kind of aspect you want to treat. But basically, if we consider it in the frame of university, it can mean that you can get, for example, in the term of equality, you can get some scholarships, some financial aids that can help students who are low income to access education. Mm-hmm. Diversity means that we try to recruit a diversity of people, students and staff, depending on their social background, race, gender, etc. And inclusion, it just stands for the fact that we offer campuses that are accessible in terms of accommodation and that we include everyone. So this is for the university framework. Mm-hmm. For society, it's just maybe that equality stands for the fact that we want to be fair with everyone. It means that no matter your gender, your race, your disability, you have the same access to services and etc. Diversity is about representation. You make sure that there is a mix of different people in a group. And inclusion also is related to the sense of belonging, mm-hmm. that I'm part of this group and I feel integrated in this group.
So basically, DEI is making sure minorities feel included and are included in different types of groups, in different types of domains, workplaces, etc.
Yeah.
So how political is it? Is it just an ideology, a cultural movement, or is it more political like the civil rights movement was?
I think this is becoming political. Mm-hmm. I'm quite convinced that this shouldn't be political, because everyone should be concerned, and there shouldn't be like some people in favor of DEI and some people against it. Mm-hmm. But I think that when we are seeing the recent events, just not later that last Monday, I don't know if you've seen this, but Trump declared that he wanted the universities to end any kind of DEI policies. I've just noted the numbers, but he said that institution should, I quote, cease illegal use of race in areas such as admissions, promotion, scholarships. And the government decided to cut $600 million in funding to groups that train teachers in the area of DEI and concepts related to DEI.
So he's using illegal very loosely here.
Yeah.
It's just what he doesn't like, basically.
Yeah. Yes, okay. Exactly. So I think this is becoming political in that sense, that this is now a political argument that we also hear more and more in the European context. So it's, but and it's also very used. You have the wokeism against the rest, and this is becoming politicized, I think.
So DEI is a part of wokeism?
I don't think so. This is not how I see it. I think DEI is bigger than that.
Okay.
DEI is just like a humanist concept. It's making sure that we all live in a society respecting each other, no matter their color, no matter their gender. And no, it's much more than that. I think to me, it's a group of values that we should all defend in our society. It's like, again, against individualism to me.
Yeah, it's more collective view.
Yeah.
Okay. So going back to the universities, how integrated is DEI to the universities?
So basically, we have seen many progresses. I think the past years. I think starting with when I was recruited in 2022. Thanks to the European project Utopia, in 2020, there was a working group that was created between the six first universities of the Alliance. And this first group was the work package on inclusion, basically. So the universities decided to do a kind of, how to say that? The objective was that each university presented what they were doing in terms of DEI. So there was a kind of awareness that was raised, and we realized that we had many things that we were doing at universities related to this subject. So we had a very big document of good practices, like 130 good practices that were present in the six universities. And it was a starting point for us at CY because at the time, there wasn't anyone like me dedicated to inclusion. It was my boss who was doing it because he is convinced and he is really sensible to these issues. And he just realized that we needed someone to coordinate what we were doing at university, because you have people working on it, but they tend not to work together. So, for example, there is someone dedicated to disability, there is someone dedicated to gender equality, dedicated to like different areas, but they do not really meet each other and work together. So that's when my boss started to try to open a position like mine. And in the meantime, I was also a PhD student representative in Utopia. So I also had this vision. And then I decided to come here. And this is when really I think I saw a change. I don't know if it was just chance, but from that moment, we had many more people who were working on these issues. And also in my missions, I had to try to create a network of people working on this. And it was really interesting to see that, in fact, there was a lot which was started and people were really getting engaged. They just needed, I think, someone to coordinate. So this was, I think we are progressing. And there is a second aspect, which is the legal aspect. So, for example, in France, in terms of disability, you have a legal framework. Like you need to have a service who accompanies the people who are disabled. So it's not easier, but they have they have a budget and they have the legal framework. So yes, it's easier to put things into place when you have like the support of the ministry and so on. And in terms of gender equality, it's kind of the same. You need to have someone who is working on it, like chargé de mission in French, and it allows and it facilitates to improve things. And we also have the third position, which is in the legal framework, is people who is dedicated to fighting against racism and anti-Semitism, and who is working on laicity. So these are the three positions who are kind of mandatory for universities to have, which makes it easier because it has a kind of political portage. I don't have it in English right now.
Transfer?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you also need to have the operational people to just develop the project and so on. And that's where I'm kind of useful.
Okay, so it is a pretty big phenomenon.
Yeah.
And it's been gaining momentum, right?
Yeah.
In the past years. And so this is at the scale of this university, or is it nationally?
No, it's national. Mm-hmm. You have, when you're a university or a school, when you're part of higher education, you need to have this position.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so how interconnected is it to more European scale?
Actually, it really depends on the legal framework of each country.
Okay.
This is where it's difficult to have like similar ways of working and developing our policies, because the legal frameworks are different, are very various, and maybe you can find an idea which is brilliant in Gothenburg in Sweden, but you simply cannot duplicate it because it doesn't work. For example, when you think about parental leave, they have in Sweden the possibility to take, I don't know, maybe 2 years. I think that you can divide between the parents or the two people who are responsible for the children. You cannot just duplicate it in the university, for example, in France, because you cannot legally do it. So it's quite difficult. What we have at the level of the European institution is that you have some commissions, for example, on racism or on gender equality, and it brings together people who work on that. So it's interesting to have the share of practices and also to be inspired, and sometimes also to push further, saying, okay, they are doing this in this university. I know we don't have the same legal framework, but maybe we could try something similar. So there is this. And at the level of like all the universities, you have some networks too of people who just do kind of the same job and get together to think about some important subjects. So for example, the CPED, which is the Conférence Permanente des Missions Égalité et Diversité, which has the full support of the ministry and who is really seen as an association which has an expertise and who is able, thanks to researchers, thanks to people who are on the field, to also bring new elements and propose some things that we could develop more nationally.
So what does this mean concretely for students who arrive to this university or in France?
So it means that, for example, if you're disabled, you have the possibility to go to our disability service. And then you are just taken care of. You are followed through your through the year and more if you stay there. You have the possibility to have a psychological follow-up, and you could also have some special accommodations. So, for example, if you have dyslexia, you can use a certain type of keyboard. You have many. It's really a personal way of treating the person. We don't do it globally. Like, we see the person, and the person will see the doctor, a psychologist, and so on, and then we'll have really personalized
help.
Yes.
Okay. So there is genuine help that students can get from DEI services in departments and universities. That's what you're telling. It's how long ago was DEI created, and is it still in its infancy? Because you've been saying that there have been significant improvements recently, but how long ago did it begin?
I don't really know exactly when it began. In terms of disability, there was a big law in 2005, so it was 20 years ago. In terms of gender equality, it's more it's slower, let's say. Like we have things, we have laws, but I think it's more difficult to see things change.
Yeah.
And in terms of bigger discriminations, there is the Défenseur des droits, which is related directly to the President of the Republic, and which is in charge of all kind of discrimination and defending people. This organ stands for 24 or 26 criteria of discrimination. And basically they are always evolving. We are adding some each time, for example, that there is a case and there is a judge or someone saying, okay, this is discrimination, so we add something. It's not in its infancy at all.
Okay.
But I have sometimes the feeling that we are a bit stuck. Like, we know that there is racism, we know that people really face challenges in their lives, but I don't see really an improvement. Maybe the improvement we could see, if I'm trying to bring back to university, access to university, is that these past few years, let's say 10 years, we've seen a real democratization of higher education. It means that we simply do not have the same students that we used to have like 40 years ago. We tend to touch a more and more diverse population of students, which is very good because it means that they know that they can also go further in their studies and also go to university. But which is quite difficult is that sometimes we tend to propose the same kind of teaching that we used to before. And sometimes we are missing the point because we are saying, okay, they don't have the skills, they're bad. We always point out at them, they are responsible of their lives. Yes, okay. But they're not adults yet. They're 18 years old. They're just out of a space where they were very accompanied by their teachers, by their parents, and sometimes the gap is huge. And when you don't have tutors or mentors or people who are here at home after high school and so on to help you, it might be more difficult. It could be very difficult for you to achieve and to progress.
Yeah, but there is real implementation, so you can feel on the ground, right?
Yes.
Sometimes, in some other aspects, in some other disciplines, you always hear about new laws to protect the rights of, I don't know, women, minorities, and then you don't see any implementation in real life. But here, at least, students can benefit really from these implementations.
We are trying to. Sometimes it's very frustrating for me because I would like it to be much more faster. Like I would like to revolutionize the thing. Sure. You know what I mean. But I really see that the mindset is also changing. For example, I'm working on a project which is not directly related to DEI, but I work on a new skill that we would like all students to have, which is be a student, be a citizen. So what do you need when you arrive at university? What is essential for you to success, to be happy, and also what is success. But we are trying to have something like this in the very first semester when they arrive. What is the welcoming they need? What are the skills, the tools we can give them to make sure that they feel just integrated to the community? So this is a very concrete thing that I'm developing right now that we will start deploying last year, and that we will try to really massify later on.
So we should expect policies to grow from here?
I hope so.
Okay.
Even if sometimes I'm a bit afraid of like what is going on in the US and the far right, which is taking more and more space. And I also see 2027 in the election coming. So I'm always a little bit skeptical, and there is this kind of conflict in me, which is I really want to fight and to make sure that things are getting developed, and sometimes I'm just, to which point will I be able to do it?
So you're afraid of some pushback at some point?
Yes, I think so. We are starting to hear those discourses in the media and in the political discourses. So I've just noted a quote from George Orwell, from In Front of Your Nose, which is, to see what's in front of one's nose needs constant struggle. And I think that today, navigating the complexities of the modern world, it requires really critical thinking, and especially in an era of misinformation and ideological clashes, because there is sometimes this tendency of what is free speech? Can we talk about everything? It's
the definition of free speech is trying to be changed by some people. But so when in the US, when they keep saying the DEI and the woke are threatening free speech or are pushing back against people who are trying to express their opinions, do you believe that's true? Is it complete nonsense?
I think it's complete nonsense. But I think that we still have a difficulty in our society, is that we tend not to listen to each other. Because I think it's becoming more and more impossible to discuss with someone who has different ideas than you. No matter which political side you have, no matter your age, no matter where you're from. I really have this tendency, this impression that people just stand on their position and do not try to be like more
curious. Maybe.
Yes, to try to understand the other. And this is what makes the extremes to grow.
Right. People antagonize each other way more than it used to be the case. So now the extremes gain more momentum because they feed on these antagonizations and fears of some people that the wokes are gaining too much momentum. So to go back to a more happier topic, are there job opportunities for people who want to benefit from DEI?
Yes, just like me, it's kind of very recent position. And it's true for the public administration, but more and more societies and companies open new jobs in terms of DEI. It's often related to human resources. Most of the time, when you have someone who is dedicated to these issues, it's in the HR. So yes, I think there will be opportunities because we have no other choice, and it's still something that needs to be developed and taken really into account, because I think we are seeing it as transversal, and it's true, it's transversal. But when you have something transversal, the tendency of people is saying it's everywhere, and when it's everywhere, it's nowhere. So it's
diluted.
Yeah, and I think it used to be the case, but now we see that we need to have people who take care of this. So yes, I think there are job opportunities. The other way to work or to defend these values is to be an activist. Like you could be part of an NGO, of an association. There are many structures, I think. And for our students, I think you also have the opportunity to create your own association or to be part of one because, for example, at CY,
we have our association and another one. We have just two associations in CY that promote women's rights and then DEI sort of. So it is, as students who join universities, they want to be a part of something relating to human rights in general. They can join associations that already exist if they don't know how to make one.
Yeah.
It's pretty implemented. I think there's an association like this in every university, I guess.
Yes, but it wasn't the case. It hasn't been always the case. I think these two associations, yours and, for example, E4She, E4She was created this year, just like you, I think.
Last year.
This year. This year? Yes, in like September 2024. And we used to have a feminist association, but I think it was becoming more and more difficult for them because they were focusing on their studies and it wasn't easy. But what I wanted to say is that there is also the student parliament. And in the student parliament, you have a poll dedicated to inclusion. So this is also an option. You could just join the person who is responsible for it and to discuss. And as a member of staff, I'm also very open to any student who would like to develop some project, and we could talk about it. And you don't have to be part of an association. Also, if you want to do some stuff, you're very welcome to do it. So yeah.
And what about academic work? Is there entirely new fields of research dedicated to DEI and other things about human rights?
I think it's always been much discussed, and there is a lot of research in these topics. There is not something that we lack.
Gender studies is pretty new, right?
Gender. No? I don't have the feeling that it's pretty new. And I think that we have quite good quality of papers and research that are being done on that subject. So I'm very happy with it because it also gives credit and proofs. And in this era where even scientists are questioned, I'm still happy that we have these figures also to develop action plan and also to propose some stuff. I try to, because I did some research, but when I go to the presidency, vice presidency, I say, okay, these are the numbers. This is why we need to do something.
Justification.
Yeah,
it's useful.
Just these are the proofs. Tell me that I'm wrong.
It's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
So what about the workplace? Is DEI implemented in the workplace? Are there new departments dedicated to dealing with it?
I would say that it's much more difficult in the workplace for staff because our first mission at university is to train people to become citizens, to become professionals. We tend to forget that we also have people who work there. And this is something that it's much harder to me because I'm not directly related to HR and I'm more working on the students community. But I see that sometimes there is a gap between the two. And I really try to make sure that we do not focus only on the students. Because if you want to create an inclusive environment, you need to take everyone into account.
Yeah.
And then there are just the structural aspect that we lack. Some people are leaving and they are not replaced, and then it makes it much harder to make it work. So I think this is really where I would like things to really progress, because I think that some staff members could be a little bit lost and not the priority sometimes. This is what worries me a little bit, but I hope that we will change this.
Okay, well, that's good news, but some contrasted news also.
Yeah.
Now I want to get more to your personal opinion.
Yeah.
You've hinted at it a little bit, but I want to know what you feel about the future of DEI. Is it going to be gaining funds? Because you need funds, right?
Yeah.
You're lacking many funds.
Yes.
Is it going to disappear? Are students going to lose any help that is proposed to them?
I don't think that students will lose aids and help, and I really don't see that. What is more difficult is that will we be able to provide the same kind of sensibilization we have? Like, will we be able to do some trainings for the students, some conferences, some movie projections, or forum theater sessions? This is more this kind of events of communication, because it costs a lot of money and we lack money. So it's more that, but we can also find solutions. And I don't want to work for free, but if we need to train a specific type of public, maybe I can do it because I have the skills. For example, I'm also a facilitator in the diversity fresco. I can do it for free for my colleagues, for the students. It's okay. So I think we will still try to do the same things, but maybe with less means than we used to have. But if you still have people who are convinced and who want to defend, then I don't see why it would fade away. And I think that your generation and the generation which is coming, they really have this will to talk about this subject and to defend their rights. So I'm really counting also on this fresh blood to help us.
Well, some common talking points against DEI, against affirmative action, which is the same thing, is it's discrimination against white people. Yeah. What can you tell us about this argument?
So I don't think there is anti-white racism, because racism needs to be systemic. And there is no systemic discrimination against white people. There can be discrimination against white people. They can be discriminated by other people. This can happen. And I've just taken some notes because I wanted really to make my make it clear. Yeah. But yes, for example, you can have an anti-white sentiment, like hostility or stereotypes. For example, saying that all white people are racist, or excluding someone because of their race. And there could be discrimination in specific contexts. In rare cases, affirmative action or policies meant to correct inequalities may be seen as disadvantaging white people. This is something that, okay, I can heard it, but I think it's really minor. Like, this is not what we need to focus on. But we shouldn't avoid talking about it, because once again, I think that we should listen to everyone's preoccupations. And if people sometimes feel discriminated, well, try not to discriminate them and just reject what they're saying.
Yeah, this goes back to freedom of speech that we were talking about. They should be allowed to express their fears. Maybe they're genuinely afraid of losing their privileges.
Of course.
But it's sort of, to gain equality, you need to give you give something, and then other people gain it. It's equality.
Yeah.
It's a political aim. So some people don't want equality.
Yeah.
So they're going to complain about it.
Yeah.
What about censorship? Do you feel there's a lot of censorship against DEI and implementations, practical implementations? Have some things that you've tried to do been cancelled?
I think there are some things that I didn't receive found for.
Okay.
But I won't call it censorship.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because, no, we don't want to implement this project. It's more a question of money and the fact that DEI is often not the priority.
Mm-hmm,
so it's more that. In terms of censorship, like more globally, of course, it exists in some countries. In our country, I don't have maybe a vision which is broad enough to tell you, but I don't think so.
And to go back to the counterpoints, does DEI want to also equalize the distribution of students in different disciplines, different types of studies? Because sometimes there are more women in some, for example, medicine, I think. But is this a good thing, or should we aim for equality everywhere?
Yeah, this is also related to the questions of the quotas and again affirmative action. I think it's a complex question. I don't have a precise idea on is it good or bad to have quotas, because maybe in engineer studies we have less women than we have men. But I think in some cases we need to have some quotas, and we need to at least have some policies that favor a more equitable representation of men and women. This is really something that I try to convey as a message, is that we have a lack of women in sciences, in computer science, and in STEM. And we have not enough men in more like literary and humanist studies.
The humanities,
Yeah. So, for example, in law, also the parcours MEF.
Teacher.
Yeah, the way to become a teacher. You have many more women. It's like 80% women against 20% men. And I think we can reach a balance if we only work on one side of the problem. And this is something that I don't hear much. This fact that, yes, we need to promote access to scientific areas to girls and women. I think we also need to work with little boys and men on the fact that they can have emotions, they can work with people.
So DEI isn't, there's this thing we rarely talk about, is young men.
Yeah.
This topic has kind of been taken by the far right now, but DEI is also trying to promote young men.
Of course. We cannot say we fight against discrimination if we discriminate.
If you start discriminating against other types of people, it doesn't make sense.
And we don't talk about what Zuckerberg said about masculinity. We don't talk about this. We talk about maybe assuming and revealing that they're part of femininity. This is not the same. We don't.
The positive masculinity aspect is more what DEI defense protects. So, does your job that you do here affect your personal life?
Yes, of course, because when you work on equality, diversity, inclusion, you have to be passionate. You need to defend those values. These values are part of who you are. So you just simply come home, close the door of your house, and forget everything you've discussed during the day, because this is about sexism, this is about rape sometimes, this is about violence, racism, sometimes you just receive some information. You just have people who come to you and talk to you about their problems because you are identified as a people they can trust, which is quite nice because it means that people know that you exist and that
you're useful.
Yes, but it can be hard sometimes to just say stop to it and just enjoy your evening with your husband and your son. And but in the meantime, I don't think I would be able to do a job which doesn't involve social involvement. I really need to work in something that is passionate and that makes sense to me. And also, it's my way of participating in a better society and to contribute also to people feeling better. And I'm not an activist apart from my job. I think that I do way enough.
Okay.
And it's my way, actually, of being an activist, I think.
So about activism, do you experience personally harassment, maybe on social media, in real life? Maybe?
No, not really. Because I've always been a little bit evasive on my social media, and thankfully, the people who follow me and so on, they have quite the same ideas as me. But still, I decided not to share too much on social media. I think it changed since I've become a mom, because I was also, okay, maybe that's not a priority right now. I need to protect myself, and it doesn't change anything. I still have the same ideas, and I try to do it differently, and my job is part of it.
So, how do you feel in general about DEI? You say budget cuts might happen, the future in 2027, and we know what's happening in the US. Are you going to still fight for people?
I think this is something you do all your life. Like, you cannot suddenly say, okay, I'm done fighting for people, and it's just the way I am. I cannot change who I am.
Yeah, when the going gets rough, you're still there.
Yes, I think. I don't know if I will still be there at the university, and maybe my engagement will be different in another way. I don't know. But yes, I don't see how it could be different.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
This has been University Unplugged, signing out.